Federal government pledges credible national census. Ogun government halts Awujale selection process over numerous petitions. On the foreign scene, President Trump heads for Davos over Greenland takeover. Japan restarts world biggest nuclear plant. Heart of the Matter today focuses on tackling examination malpractices, while feature is on Olumiri waterfall. My name is Dayo Adenuga, and from our colleague
Feyishara Owomoyela, thanks for joining us. You can also listen to us via live streams www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng. You can also watch us live on Facebook at Premier FM 93.5. Stay hydrated, as dehydration is dangerous to human health. Now, the details. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to conducting a credible, transparent, and internationally acceptable national census, saying it will not sacrifice due process for speed. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, stated this when the chairman of the National Population Commission (NPC), Dr. Aminu Yusuf, led a management team on a courtesy visit to his office. Alhaji Idris said accurate population data remain critical to national planning, stressing that development would be impossible without reliable demographic figures. According to him, agencies such as the National Orientation Agency (NOA), the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA), Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria (FRCN), Voice of Nigeria (VON), and the News Agency of Nigeria (NAN) would be deployed for nationwide sensitization. Alhaji Idris also stressed that a presidential proclamation remained the legal basis for the conduct of the census, assuring that all requirements were being aligned to meet global standards.
As the Oyo State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC advanced in its participation in the ongoing nationwide electronic registration of members, the leadership of the party has expressed their optimism about the success of the exercise, even as they have targeted at least 350,000 figure on the last day of the registration. The APC at the national level had announced the flag off of a fresh registration of its members across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Abuja. The exercise, designed to be carried out electronically, is aimed at getting the names and relevant personal information of existing and new members in a database for the purpose of management, planning, and strategy by the party. In a statement made available to journalists in Ibadan by its publicity secretary, Mr. Olawale Shadari, Oyo APC eulogized critical leaders and stakeholders in the party who teamed up to tackle the few challenges which had threatened the smooth and successful conduct of the membership registration exercise in the state.
In the meantime, Director, Public Affairs and Family Assistance, Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, NSIB, Mrs. Olawumi Oladeji, is called on members of the All Progressives Congress APC, supporters, and Democrats in Oyo State to mobilize and participate actively in the ongoing nationwide e-membership registration and revalidation exercise of the party. Mrs. Oladeji made the call in a statement issued in Ogbomoso, her primary constituency, and made available to newsmen. The former lawmaker maintained that the exercise is being conducted across all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory FCT, as politics, they say, is a game of numbers. According to her, the ongoing electronic registration and revalidation exercise is one of the major milestones in the efforts of the APC to strengthen its internal structures and cohesion through adoption of a modern, secure, and transparent digital membership system designed to update its membership database. Mrs. Oladeji, who is a grassroots mobilizer, further reaffirmed the party's commitment to grassroots mobilization and development, noting that the electronic membership drive would enhance proper coordination of all members at the ward, local government, state and national levels. The Ogbomoso-born politician, however, expressed confidence in the leadership of the party under the national leader, who she called a good father to her, and a national reformer, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Oyo State leaders of APC led by the state chairman, Alhaji Olaide Abbas.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has warned all parties to shun calumny, hate speech and violence as political campaign commences tomorrow ahead of June 20th governorship election in Ekiti State. The State Resident Electoral Commission, Dr. Bumi Omoshaindemi, gave the warning while addressing stakeholders and media professionals at the INEC's office in Ado-Ekiti. He said any political party that runs foul of the electoral laws during the electioneering would be sanctioned accordingly, saying there was need for all political parties to maintain decorum during the campaign. At the meeting, Dr. Omoshaindemi confirmed the final list of governorship and deputy governorship candidates being released. Our correspondent Olani Yalade, who covered the event, reports that name of PDP candidates was not among the names released by INEC.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has lifted the ban placed on public campaigns ahead of the June 20, 2026 governorship election in Ekiti State. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in the state, Dr. Bumi Omoshaindemi, who announced this at a stakeholders meeting with representatives of political parties and the media in Ado-Ekiti, said they would be allowed to commence public campaigns from today, with activities expected to end at midnight on June 18 this year. He urged political parties to conduct themselves with decorum and ensure peaceful campaigns in the build-up to the poll, reiterating INEC's commitment to conducting a credible, transparent and peaceful governorship poll. The REC stressed that peaceful campaigns were essential for a credible election and the stability of the state, reiterating INEC's commitment to conducting a credible, transparent and peaceful governorship poll. He appealed to political parties to conduct their campaigns responsibly and in full compliance with the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Electoral Act 2022 and the Code of Conduct for Political Parties and Campaigns. He cautioned parties against hate speech, inciting statements, misinformation and personal attacks, and advised them to refrain from violence, intimidation and disruption of opponents' lawful activities. The Resident Electoral Commissioner also implored parties to adhere strictly to approved venues, routes and campaign timelines, and to ensure that their supporters and agents conduct themselves peacefully. He further advised political parties to notify security agencies and relevant authorities ahead of rallies, processions, and other campaign activities, assuring that INEC, in collaboration with security agencies and other stakeholders, would closely monitor campaigns across the state.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced 11th March as the official commencement date for political campaigns ahead of forthcoming governorship election in Osun State. The state INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Mutiu Agboke, stated this while responding to questions from newsmen during an expanded stakeholders meeting held in Osogbo. Dr. Agboke said the campaign timeline will be formally communicated to political actors in line with existing Electoral Act and guidelines. He explained that the Commission would outline campaign protocols to guide political parties throughout the process. The Osun State INEC boss emphasized the need for collective responsibility in achieving credible electoral processes in the state.
Ogun State government has again halted the selection process for the new Awujale of Ijebu land. The Awujale stall became vacant in July 2025 after the demise of the 91-year-old Obasikiru Adetono, who reigned for 65 years. In a statement signed by the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Ganiyu Hamzat, in which had since gone viral, said that the selection process was halted due to the flood of petitions received from security agencies and other stakeholders. The Ogun State government around December 18, 2025 halted the selection process for the vacant stool of the Awujale, citing procedural errors. The vice chairman of the Fusengbuwa ruling house, Professor Fasi Yusuf, had confirmed the development in a telephone interview with newsman. Professor Yusuf explained that the earlier process was cancelled due to identified procedural errors and that could potentially open the floodgates to litigation over the installation of the new Awujale. Recall that 95 people consisting of 94 princes and a princess from the Fusengbuwa ruling house of Ijebu-Ode emerged on Monday as the contestants to the vacant stool of Awujale and paramount ruler of Ijebu-Land. The contestants emerged as the nomination meeting held by the ruling house at Bisrod Hall, GRA, Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. The nomination meeting was presided over by the chairman of the ruling house, Otumba Abdulateef Owóyẹmí, his deputy and vice, Prince Adedokun Ajidagba, and Professor Fasi Yusuf, respectively, while the secretary to the Ijebu-Ode local government, Abiodun Oke, and some other officials of the local government were around to serve as observers.
Meanwhile, the Awujale Kingmakers Council has announced the cancellation of a planned meet and greet earlier scheduled to be held at the Aafin Awujale, directing instead that Awujale nominees' efforts to the Department of State Services office in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. This was contained in a letter dated January 20, 2026, addressed to the chairman of Fusengbuwa ruling house, Otumba Lateef Owóyẹmí, his deputy, Otumba Dokun Ajidagba, and the vice chairman, Professor Fasi Yusuf. According to the notice, all Awujale nominees are required to present themselves at the DSS office located along NTA Road beside State Psychiatric Hospital of Igbebe Road, Ijebu-Ode. The council stated that the decision led to the cancellation of the earlier engagement at the Aafin Awujale and expressed regret for an inconvenience for any inconvenience the sudden change may cause. The letter signed by the secretary of the Awujale Afobaje Council, Chief Ayotunde Ola Udulaja, urged all concerned nominees to comply strictly with the directive and ensure punctuality.
Still in Ogun State, the governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, has commissioned the Professor Wole Soyinka Ladering train station road in Obafemi Owode local government area, with a pledge to inaugurate 20 additional roads as part of activities marking the 50th anniversary of the creation of the state. Speaking at the inauguration of the 3.5-kilometer road, Governor Abiodun said his administration has since inception prioritized infrastructure development across the 3 senatorial districts, disclosing that no fewer than 1,600 kilometers of roads have been constructed and rehabilitated in the last 6 years. The governor assured that his administration would remain focused and undistracted in delivering its campaign promises, noting that the ongoing reconstruction of the Lagos-Ota-Abeokuta road would be completed by September. He noted that sustained investment in road infrastructure has boosted the state's economy within internally generated revenue, growing from 4 billion naira in 2019 to over 17 billion naira in 2025. Governor Abiodun explained that the road was reconstructed to ease access to the train station, which records between 100,000 and 150,000 passengers daily traveling to Lagos, Abuja, and other parts of the country. In a welcome remark, the Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Mr. Ade Akinsoya, represented by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Mr. Lateef Yusuf, described the road as vital to connecting Ogun State to other parts of the country through the rail station.
In many rural communities across Osun State, childhood is being cut short as teenage pregnancy quietly robs young girls of their education, health, and future prospects. In this report, our correspondent Mojisola Oladele examines the causes, consequences, and societal responses to teenage pregnancy in some rural parts of the state.
Ms. Tosin Adewusi, a resident of a rural community in Odoti, local government area of Osun State, became pregnant at the age of 14 by a 20-year-old man. Tragically, she lost the pregnancy due to complications associated with her young age and lack of physical and emotional preparedness for childbirth. Narrating her ordeal, Ms. Adewusi spoke of the pain and trauma she endured at a stage of life meant for learning and growth.
So when I got to the hospital, the pregnancy costs a lot of money, that there is no enough money to take good care of it. So after then that my husband realized that what he's doing is not right, then he said he's going to take good care of me, that he enrolled me to the school that I should start.
Unlike many teenage mothers in similar circumstances, Ms. Adewusi received some form of support. The family of the man responsible for the pregnancy accepted responsibility and agreed to sponsor her education up to secondary school level with the condition that she would later marry their son. However, some outcomes remain rare in many rural communities across the state. Most teenage girls affected by early pregnancy permanently drop out of school, lack employable skills, and are left without family or societal support. In several cases, the men responsible for the pregnancies abandon the girls and disappear without accountability. During a program visit to Akiriboto community in Ayedade local government area, Radio Nigeria observed several girls aged between 13 and 18 who were either pregnant or already nursing between 1 or 3 children. Many of the children appeared undernourished and poorly cared for. One of the girls, Ms. Bisola Jimo, told Radio Nigeria that she became pregnant at age 12 while in junior secondary school too. She explained that the man involved only visited the community during an Eid al-Maulud celebration when they met, an encounter that resulted in the pregnancy. Ms. Jimo said all efforts to trace the man proved unsuccessful, as even members of her family denied knowing him. Unable to communicate effectively in English, she disclosed that she survives by borrowing clothes for her 2-year-old child and selling farm produce on market days. Reacting to the situation, the secretary of an Osun-based non-governmental organization, Mrs. Yemi Ilesomi, said findings from our organization's outreach programs indicate that child marriage is not prevalent in Osun State.
As an NGO, we have been to virtually all the local government areas in Osun State, and we have noticed that child marriage is not as strong as in some other parts of Nigeria.
Mrs. Ilesomi explained that girls forced into early marriage often suffer low self-esteem, health complications, and restricted access to education. She called for sustained sensitization and awareness campaigns on the dangers of child marriage and teenage pregnancy in schools, communities, and religious centers. Also speaking, the Osun State Director of the National Orientation Agency, NOA, Prince Stephen Adebi, described child marriage as a violation of Nigerian law.
Really thank God for both the Muslims and Christians that the traditional religious family are against it.
Adebi advised parents, particularly mothers, to pay closer attention to their children, especially girls, to guide them towards informed and responsible life choices. From Ward 2, Unit 4, Onyon, Oduoti local government area, Mojisola Oladele.
All right, thank you, Mojisola Oladele, for that report. Some youths in Ede, Osun State have chased officials of the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, IBEDC, out and locked the company's office. Speaking on behalf of the youths, the president of Ede Youth Development Association, FADA, Mr. Folabi Abiola, explained that the action was taken considering the poor electricity supply in most areas in Ede town, which had affected economic activities negatively. Mr. Abiola emphasized that previous interventions had only led to temporary promises, with power supply failing to improve despite repeated assurances.
This is the world today, the stories that made headlines. Federal government has pledged credible national census. Ogun State has halted Awujale selection process over numerous petitions. Still to come, President Trump heads for Davos over Greenland takeover. Japan restarts world biggest nuclear plant. Stay with us, don't go away.
Glad to know you're still with us on the World Today, the midweek edition. Now to the foreign scenes. U.S. President Donald Trump has descended on Davos for a showdown with European leaders as his bid to seize Greenland threatens to tear the transatlantic alliance apart. President Trump, whose arrival in Davos was delayed when a minor electrical issue occurred and forced his presidential jet to turn back shortly after takeoff. The leaders gathered that at the Swiss ski resort have closed ranks against Trump's aggressive stance, with French President Emmanuel Macron vowing to stand against bullies and Canada's Mark Carney warning of a rupture, not a transition to the US-led global order.
The world's biggest nuclear power plant has been restarted today for the first time since the 2021 Fukushima disaster, despite persistent safety concerns among residents. Tokyo Electric Power Company spokesman Tatsuya Matoba said the regional governor approved the resumption list last month, although public opinion remains sharply divided. A few dozen protesters were yesterday braved freezing temperatures to demonstrate in the snow near the plant entrance, whose buildings line the Sea of Japan. Around 60% of the residents opposed the restart, while 37% support it, according to a survey conducted in September.
Still taking news around the world, European police said they had busted a major synthetic drug ring working across several countries in the largest ever operation of its kind, striking a massive blow to organized crime. Report says authorities dismantled 24 industrial-scale labs and seized around 1,000 tons of chemicals used to make street drugs such as MDMA, amphetamine, and meth.
The man who assassinated former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been sentenced to life imprisonment more than 3 years after the killing shocked Japan and the world. A court in Nara handed down the sentence to 45-year-old Tetsuya Yagamai, who admitted to fatality shooting Abe during the campaign event in 2022.
Okay, on today's Heart of the Matter, this takes a look at tackling examination malpractices, as written by Fauzia Kashim of our Current Affairs Unit.
In a bold move announced recently, federal government unveiled sweeping reforms aimed at eradicating examination malpractice in the West African Examination Council, WAEC, and the National Examination Council, NECO, which becomes effective with the 2026 examination cycle. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, outlined measures including enhanced question randomization and serialization to ensure that candidates answer identical questions arranged in various sequences, thereby thwarting collusion. The initiative, coupled with a ban on senior secondary school SSS 3 transfers, standardized continuous assessment timelines, and the introduction of a unique examination learner's identity number, is aimed at restoring credibility to the nation's assessment system. The bane of examination malpractice has become a chronic affliction that undermines national progress, from leaked question papers to impersonation and bribery. With WAEC reporting over 215,000 cases in 2024 alone, resulting in withheld result and cancelled script, NECO did not fare better, having been entangled in similar scandals despite its mandate to deliver credible assessment. While the minister has pledged to align examination with global standards, but historical experience reveals persistent gaps in the implementation. For instance, the 1977 Shogbetun Commission, established in response to widespread WAEC leaks, recommended reforms that ultimately led to creation of NECO. However, malpractice still persists, such as corruption within examination systems, including the bribery of invigilators and collusion by officials, which remains largely unaddressed. there is the need for resolute action, as the Federal Ministry of Education must collaborate closely with state government to address infrastructure gaps, including investment in solar-powered computer-based testing centers and secure digital question banks. It behoves legislators to enhance stiffer penalties, including custodial sentences for adult accomplices in examination fraud, while incorporating ethics education from an early age. Also, civil society groups, including parent-teacher associations, must actively monitor implementation and advocate for whistleblowers' protections. Examination bodies such as WAEC and NECO should be subjected to independent audit to eliminate internal weaknesses, while international partnerships can also provide technical assistance, provided national sovereignty and accountability are preserved. As aspirations rise, government and stakeholders in the education sector must work together to ensure that this initiative move from policy pronouncement into a genuine rebirth for Nigeria's educational future. The WAEC and NECO reforms mark a critical moment for Nigeria's education system, which should not be treated as a public relations victory, but as a test of national resolve that, if pursued with discipline and integrity, it can help reclaim the value of the nation's certificate and restore confidence in the country's future workforce.
That script on tackling examination malpractices was written by Fauzia Kashim of our Current Affairs Unit.
Among the wonders of creation are waterfalls. Olumire is a popular waterfall in Osun State. What is peculiar about this place? Let's join Lillian Ibomo for more.
Imagine a waterfall with the appearance of a human figure. That is one of the great wonders of the popular Olumire waterfall in Erin-Ijesha, Osun State. The waterfall, which is 2 kilometers off Erin-Ijesha town, was said to be discovered by a woman called Akinla Grand of Oduduwa of the popular Yoruba race. Olumire is like the collection of 7 cascades which pours over a cliff, creating an impressive 7 layers of rock and 7 waterfalls, flowing majestically among the rocks and splashes down with great force to the evergreen vegetation. Like a mother, the mysterious figure-like fall opens her bosom for all visitors to soak from her clear spring while water gush out from her several months. As the water, like a snail, lazily slices through the heights, it picks up velocity that slaps the flesh, pumping out like an imprisoned rebel through the thickness of the woods. The view of the level is wonderful and the freshness of the water energizing. However, the last and 7th level is the most intriguing well. That if you are dead, the torturous chirp.
The script on Olumire Waterfall was written by Rashida Makinde.
And to end the news on the world today, the midweek edition from the stable of Radio Nigeria. A quick look at the major items. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to conducting a credible, transparent, and internationally acceptable national census, saying it will not sacrifice due process for speed. Ogun State government has again halted the selection process for the new Awujale of Ijebuland. From the foreign scenes, U.S. President Donald Trump has descended on Davos for a showdown with European leaders as his bid to seize Greenland threatens to tear the transatlantic alliance apart. And the man who assassinated former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been sentenced to life imprisonment more than 3 years after killing shocked Japan and the world.
Well, that's it on World Today. Join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. Rashida Makinde edited. I am Dayo Adenuga saying thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day.
I am Feyi Shara Owomoyela. Good afternoon.